welcome back. Last week you had Rosh Hashanah family service with stories and songs and the shofar. Well, this week is a different holiday. It's all part of something called the High Holy Days, which are Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They kind of work together. But this one is called Yom Kippur, which is our Day of Atonement. It's the day that we say we're sorry. It's the day that we look back on our lives and we realize all the things that we did and all of the ways that we can be better. How about you? Have you been perfect all year? Raise your hand if you've been perfect. No, you haven't. If you think you've been perfect all year, why don't you just ask your mom or ask your dad if you've been perfect all year? And they may say that you are just a perfect child, and they would be telling you the truth. But that doesn't mean, even if you're a perfect child, that doesn't mean that everything you do is perfect. No. We all make mistakes. We all do things that we can do better at in the future. And that's what Yom Kippur is about. Thinking about how we can be better at what we're doing. So, just like Rosh Hashanah, which was last week, where we did this whole service on video, but we still did songs and we still did stories that perhaps you at least are familiar with the songs, maybe some new stories, maybe some of the same ones. But a lot of things are the same, even though it's different being here without people in the sanctuary. Well, still, we have to do the best that we can. That's something, by the way, which is a good lesson all the time. Things aren't always perfect for us. We have to do the best that we can. So, we're going to begin Yom Kippur family service with some singing.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shana tova, shana tova, shana 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 tova, shana tova, shana tova. Shana, 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 shana tova.
Hey, so, Shana Tova. And I like telling stories, in the sanctuary, but I like to tell stories here, from my office, because I can kind of do some fun things with some pictures. And I wanted to tell you a story about a bag of nails. Now, this bag of nails was an unusual bag of nails, and let me tell you about it. So once upon a time, there was a girl, and this girl would get very, very angry. And that since she would get very angry, oftentimes she would lose her temper. So, sometimes she would get mad at people for no reason. Sometimes she had good reason, but she just got mad at them. And sometimes we make mistakes, but this girl, she would get angry a lot. And sometimes it was getting in her way. Her mother noticed that she was getting angry oftentimes, and she had an idea. And she said to her daughter, she said, I want you to go find me a bag of nails. A bag of nails? The daughter said, yes, her mother said, I want you to find me a bag of nails. Now, when the daughter came back with a bag of nails, the mother said, okay, every time you lose your temper, or you hurt someone's feelings, or you say something mean, you need to hammer a nail into the fence in our backyard. The girl didn't understand exactly what it was that this was going to teach, but she figured, okay, I'll give it a try. So She took her bag of nails and she grabbed a hammer and she left them outside, and she knew that every time she said something mean, or said something, lost her temper or hurt someone's feelings, she was going to hammer a nail into the back fence. Well, one day she realized she said something mean to somebody, so she walked to her backyard and she got out a nail and she hammered a nail into the fence, and she said something mean. In fact, on this first day, as it turns out, she didn't just say, one mean thing or two mean things. It turns out that this girl, she said 10 mean things and hurt people's feelings 10 times over the course of a single day. And she hammered 10 nails into the wall. Well, she realized, man, that's a lot of nails that she had hammered into the wall, and so she decided maybe she would try to be a little bit better at it. And so the next day, she only said 5 mean things to people. Now, still, it was 5 mean things, but it was better than 10 mean things. But 5 mean things is a lot. She had hurt someone's feelings. She called someone mean. She said she didn't like someone. All these different things, but she did it only 5 times, which was less than 10. But she nailed 5 times, 5 nails into her fence, 5 of them. And so she now had 10 holes and 5 more holes from the next day. Well, the following day after that, she had become a little bit smarter and wiser, and she only said 2 mean things to people that day. One was to her mom and one was to her sister. It wasn't very nice, but she did it, and over the course of that day, 2 mean things. And she was glad that she wasn't losing her temper quite as much as she had before, but still, even saying 2 mean things to people, that's a lot. Well, the next day came around and she said, all right, I'm going to do better than I had done before. But it turns out she didn't do better. In fact, on this day, the following day, she said 5 mean things again to people. And she realized, though, this time, every time she was saying a mean thing, she realized it really wasn't right what she was doing. And so the following day after that, she kind of realized that I'm really going to do a better job. No more mean things to people, but one mean thing kind of slipped out. She accidentally said to her mom that she didn't like her dinner. And she thought she was just telling the truth, but her mom had worked hard on making dinner and she just said she didn't like it, and that was kind of mean. And so she decided she was going to go out to the fence and nail 1 nail. But that was a good day, only 1 time. And she wasn't even sure if that 1 was really something, but it was. So the following day rolls around and she had kind of learned a lot and she had figured these things out, and she decided that she was going to really, really work hard at it. And that whole day, 0, no mean things. She didn't lose her temper 1 time. She didn't say a single mean thing. And she told her mother about it. And her mother was really happy. But her mother said to you, but now I've got another job for you. What's that? The girl said. She said, I want you to take all the nails out of the fence that you nailed in. And she said, well, why would I want to do that? And she said, I need you to do it. Pull out every nail. But I only want you to pull out the nails on days that you don't lose your temper even 1 time. Now the girl realized that she had gotten very good at holding back her temper and keeping herself from saying mean things. And so she knew she could do it. And what do you know? Day after day, which became week after week, she managed to pull all the nails out of the wall. Every single nail had been pulled out. And so she went to her mom after she pulled out the last nail, and she said, Mom, come, look, every single nail has been pulled out. Isn't this great? And the mom said, you've done well, but look at all these holes in the fence. the fence will never be the same. And the daughter said, what do you mean? And the mom said, well, for this fence, once you hammer a nail into it, it will always have a hole in it. You may have pulled the nail out, but there's always still going to be something that's taken away, something that hurts another. And the mom said, and that's kind of what happens when you say mean things and when you lose your temper. That you can say you're sorry, but still a little bit of the hole stays there. But when it comes to humans and when it comes to Yom Kippur, that's one of the beautiful things, is that when we say we're sorry, we can really try to make it better. We, humans, are kind of like the wall, kind of like the fence. You know, when we get hurt, a little bit of us still feels a little hurt. But as humans, we have the capacity to say sorry, make up, try to do better, and be friends again. And that's one of the important things about Yom Kippur. It's being able to say sorry, because that is really what Yom Kippur is all about. Realizing the times when you've nailed a nail, and even when you try to pull it out, realizing that maybe there is still a little bit of a hole there, but knowing that when you say sorry and when you mean it, you really can try, not like the wall, but human beings can try to make each other whole again. Thank you for listening.
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Aneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu maasim, Tzedaka v'chesed, Asei manu tzedaka v'chesed, v'hoshienu.
Hi. Did I ever tell you the story about the boy who was at services during Yom Kippur and he disturbed everybody, but in the end, it wasn't as bad as we thought? I haven't. Perfect. Let me tell you about this one. You see, because once upon a time, there was a synagogue, and it was on Yom Kippur, just like today. And on Yom Kippur, just like today, all the people were in the synagogue. Now, I have to tell you that it's not exactly the same here right now. All the people are not in the synagogue here right now. It's just me. However, back to my story. All the people were doing all the prayers of the service, you know, the Hebrew prayers, all the really important stuff, you know, like the Shema and the Binu Malkeinu and Unatana Tokef and the Vidui and all these really, really fancy hard words, Hebrew words in Hebrew. And all of a sudden, while they were praying all of their prayers, they could hear in the back the sound of a person going, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Now you should know that those 4 words are actually 4 letters. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Those are the first four letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Now, so they're all praying their important prayers in the sanctuary, but in the back, they could hear this one voice just going, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Now, it started to get a little louder. You see, it wasn't just kind of quiet. It wasn't a whisper. Suddenly, louder and louder. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Now, the people in the sanctuary, like the old people, all of a sudden, they were interrupted from their prayers. You know, one at a time. They weren't doing Shema Yisrael anymore. Instead, they were all turning back around like, who is that back there? Just saying Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. Now, let me explain to you what it was like. So, you see, they were, let me take this with you. Okay, in the sanctuary. So, just don't mind me over here. Here they were. This little boy was in the back seat, the back row of the sanctuary. Again, you can't see anybody else. You know why? No one's here. It's just me. But the boy was in the back row of the sanctuary, and the boy was looking out at all the people in the sanctuary, but the boy was just back here, and he was going, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. And everyone was turning around and looking at him. And all of a sudden, you know, everybody in the whole room stopped, including the rabbi. The rabbi stopped and said, what is going on? Well, the little boy who was saying, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, and that was the only thing he was saying, suddenly he lifted his head up and realized that all the people had stopped praying. There wasn't a sound now in the sanctuary. Everyone had stopped, and the rabbi started walking over to him. Maybe if I just bury my head in my book here, no one will notice me. Maybe the rabbi won't notice me. I'm just going to stand here and just, don't worry about me. Maybe the rabbi's going to walk by. The rabbi's coming. And the rabbi came up to him and said, little boy, can I help you with something? Why is it that you're disturbing our service the way you are? And the boy said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, but I heard everyone doing all their prayers, and I didn't know any of the prayers. I didn't know any of the words. All I knew was Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, because that's all I had learned in Hebrew school. The rabbi said, that's all you knew? Yes, I just started learning this year. And the rabbi said, well, if that's all you knew, then that is all you can say. And your prayers are just as important as everyone else's. And the boy learned something, and so did everyone in the synagogue that day. They learned it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter how much Hebrew that you know and how perfect you know everything. What matters is, are you trying? What matters is, do you care? And when that happened, the boy realized, and so in fact did everybody realize that they had learned a really important lesson. What matters is what you bring to it and how much you're trying.
Ay, 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 ay. We're here today. We've come to pray. We thank you, God, on Yom Kippur Day. Ay, 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 ay. We will be good. We try much more. We'll try much more. That's why we're here. That's why we're here on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur. Ay, 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 ay. It's time to think. It's time to think. What can we do? What can we do? How should we act? How should we act? So we sing to you. We sing to you. Ay, 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 ay. We come to think. We come to think. We come to pray. We come to pray. We come to think, we come to sing on these holidays, on these holy days. Ay, 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 ay.
Hello, so this is Yom Kippur, and I want to tell you a story about one of the most famous people of Yom Kippur, and his name is Jonah. Now, Jonah was a man who lived in Israel, okay? He was a normal man, he did his own stuff, he had a job, he had a family. There was nothing special about Jonah. Nothing. Just Mr. Jonah. Here, Jonah. Well, one day, out of nowhere, God calls out to Jonah and says, Jonah! And Jonah says, yes. Who is that speaking to me? And God says, it's me, God. And Jonah says, yes, what can I do for you? And God says, I want you to go to the city of Nineveh, and I want you to tell them that they have been bad, and unless they say sorry, I am not going to forgive them. I'm going to punish them. Well, Jonah did not like the people in Nineveh. Jonah was very angry with the people in Nineveh. In fact, Jonah had been hurt many times by the people from Nineveh. So Jonah wanted to see the people of Nineveh punished. But God told him that he needs to go and warn them that unless they say sorry and unless they do what they need to do, that God will punish them. And so Jonah had this idea, I'm just not going to tell them. I'm not going to give them the message from God. Instead, I'm going to go as far away as I possibly can, just so they do not hear the message. So Jonah, instead of walking this way to go to Nineveh, he walked this way, far away from Nineveh, and he got on a boat. Now, he said to the captain of this boat, I want you to keep sailing far away, away from where I am in Israel, away from Nineveh. I just picked something up special. Anybody know what it is I picked up? Shh, if you do, don't tell anybody in the room. All right, so he told the captain of the boat, take me as far away as you possibly can. Well, guess what? While they were on the boat, it started to rain a lot. And it started to have a lot of wind. A lot. In fact, it was so windy that the boat was going up and down and up and down, and everyone was getting seasick. Everyone was like, whoa, on the boat, whoa, on the boat. And no one understood why this was happening. except for Jonah. He knew why. He said to the captain, "It's my fault. I think you need to throw me overboard. If you throw me off the boat, I promise the weather's going to get better." And they said, "We're not throwing you overboard. That's not what people do to other people." Well, Jonah said, "Trust me, this is what we need to do." So they threw him overboard into the water, and Jonah splashed right into the water. And as he was floating in the water, along comes, and this is the surprise, a big whale, big fish. And Jonah saw the fish, and the fish saw Jonah. And just as the fish was about to just introduce himself, instead of introducing himself, the fish went, "Oop, I'm going to eat you." And the fish ate Jonah. And then the fish went on his way. Well, believe it or not, when you have a big whale like this, sometimes people, when they go, well, at least this is what happened to Jonah. People go into the whale, but it's like a big hole in there, so you can live in the whale for a few days. Well, that's what Jonah did. He went into the whale, and he lived for a few days inside the tummy of the whale. And while he was inside the tummy, he realized, this whole problem was because I didn't do what God wanted me to do. But I didn't want to go to Nineveh, but God did, and I disobeyed God. And the fact that I'm still alive inside of this fish's tummy is proof that I need to do what God said, even if I didn't want to. Well, after a few days, the fish swam ashore and had this big, it was kind of like a burp, and went, and then all of a sudden the fish swam off, and Jonah got spit, burped right onto the shore. And that just shows that it was what God wanted, because otherwise, if the fish wanted to burp or spit it out, Jonah out, could have been in the middle of the water. But the fish specifically spit Jonah out onto the land. And Jonah then realized that he needed to go to Nineveh, and he walked all the way to Nineveh. And when he got there, he told the people of Nineveh, even though he didn't want to, because remember, he had his feelings hurt a lot of times by these people in Nineveh. He told the people in Nineveh, "You're going to be punished unless you do what you need to do to make up for it." And it wasn't just to Jonah, but to everybody. Well, all the people of Nineveh heard Jonah, and they immediately began to do all these prayers and all these words and all these things as a way of saying they're sorry. And Jonah was sad. And you might think, why would Jonah be sad if he made them better people? And the reason why Jonah was sad was because he was still angry with them. He felt like he didn't want them. He wanted them to be punished. And God said to Jonah, "Hey, Jonah, why are you so upset?" And Jonah said, "Because I didn't think they were worth saving. I wanted them to be punished." And God said, "Hey, don't forget that forgiveness isn't just for you, but it can be for all people. And that means that even when you've been wronged, you have to still give people a chance to make it right." So you might think that Yom Kippur is just about you saying sorry, and trust me, that's an important thing of Yom Kippur. But also important about Yom Kippur is making sure to listen when other people try to say that they're sorry. That's the story of Jonah.
Shana tova tikatevu, leshana tova tikatevu, leshana tova tikatevu.
We bring these high holy days to a close. We bring Yom Kippur to a close with one final sound of the shofar. T'kiya Gedola. Shana Tova. It was so nice to be together.